A wise person once told me they hate Shadolls. I agreed. Sup, my name is Rui for the TheYugiohCouncil. This is Guide to Your Side. And basically, for this month, we're finally bringing it back. And what this is basically a segment where we run down cards you should be using to side deck or combat Shadolls. That's what this month's topic is Shadolls. Next month would probably be Satella Knights or something else. You see how that works? We jump decks between what you actually need to be siding for. If you would like, you can request one down in the comments below and I'll get to it. But we're going to do Shadolls to kick this series back up and running the way it should have been. We're going to start with skill drain. Some of these I don't fully agree with, but I'm going to mention them anyway for the sheer fact of discussion basis and give you my analysis of how it will affect the game. Well, the game state. Skill Drain's a great option to shut down not just Shadolls, but about 20 other meta decks and 20 other rogue decks. Everything uses effects. It is one that can literally shit all over your opponent. Now, the only downside when it comes to the Shadoll matchup is if they can get a Shadoll into that graveyard by using Shadoll Fusion, and if it's a dragon, or I believe it's the dragon, or it's the other one, I can't remember, the dog, I can't remember which one. It will basically take care of this like MST. If they're running MST, this is going to be MST-able, but if you're going against a Lightsworn Shadoll, then you only have to worry about the first part of that. So, Skill Drain has its pros, its cons, its negatives, and all that jazzy stuff. But the main thing with Skill Drain, the consensus is it would really just come down to your main deck and your side and how you think you want to handle the matchup. Do you want to handle the matchup where you're completely shutting down effects? Then Shadow and Prison Mirror is obviously going to outclass this and should be your first choice. But if you're running something like Black Wings, this is actually a better option because this won't hurt you as much. And let's move on to the next one, which is Noble Mana Crossout. And basically, you target one face-down monster, it gets banished, and then all the other copies go with it if it was a flip effect monster from both decks. This also allows you basically to secretly, without cheating, do analysis of your opponent's deck and figure out what kind of Shadolls are they running. Are they running pure? Are they running just fusion-based? What may be the situation. That's something to keep in mind, but you're going to have to go pretty quick on it because otherwise, it looks legal even though it's not because it's called a deck check, and that's to make sure that all copies are banished out, and your opponent's going to be able to do the same to you. So that's something else to keep in mind. So it's, in a way, it's a double-edged sword, but it does do what it does extremely well. And if you do have a tendency, like if they say they have Book of Moon and you flipped up Vanity's Emptiness, not Vanity's Emptiness, you flipped up Bottomless to stop it or whatnot, and they play Book of Moon, then you can banish it out with Noble Mana Crossout. It's a lot of banishing stuff out to win the matchup. But Noble Mana Crossout's a pretty good choice. Not a great choice, but a pretty good choice. It does take care of the Falcon. That's the one major thing. If we're talking about just when they start setting shit on the board, not fusing, not going for the fusions, then yeah, it's a great option to use. But in my case, there's still better options, and I'm kind of iffy about this one, so I'm just being fair about it. And then we have something that also takes care of flip effects and other effects, but doesn't say it. And another great option is Majesty's Fiend. I can't get over that enough, and we'll actually go to that in a second. But Royal Command, negate the activation and effects of all flip-up effects. Now, the Japanese text also states all effects in general, but for some reason it says that. This is pretty self-explanatory. It's a skill drain for flip effects, but they can still take it off the board. So, it's kind of one of those things. If you're going against the, Lightsworn variants, then it's going to give you more hassle than you can really deal with in that kind of case here. Bear with me for 1 second while I grab my Majesty's Fiend to get the proper name down so I know exactly what I'm supposed to be putting in here. Let's see, Majesty's Fiend. Okay. So the reason I keep bringing up Majesty's Fiend is because it shuts down all monster effects. Now the one downside, and this comes down to having to run multiple cards regardless, is that while Majesty's Fiend works, if they fusion summon, regardless of not getting the effect, they could just run it over. So having that Book of Moon, that Book of Eclipse, or Dimensional Prison, or even Defusion face down ready for that shit is going to easily help you. Now there is another side deck card that will help with Majesty's Fiend. They go really nice together, is Mispolymerization, because if they have a fusion summon that was special summon, you return all fusion monsters to the respective fusion decks. And since Majesty's Fiend is a tribute monster and you can't special them, they're going to have to use it from the hand, meaning that they're going to lose advantage, and because they can't use the effects in the graveyard to regain advantage, Mispolymerization for the win with it. These are two of my favorite things to side against them, not even gonna lie, two of my favorite things. Another one I like is Kokimero Drago, because it also helps with the Lightsworn matchups that you may be running into still, or just the Teleknights in general, because they are light based. Now Kokimero Drago, unfortunately, can't stop the graveyard effects, so Kokimero Drago also, needs that team up situation where he could team up with something like Soul Drain, and having these two together would literally just shit all over them. Now, no Shadow Fusion and Soul Drain, no effects, for that, but if you use something like, I don't know, Noblemare Crossout on top of that, or Shadow Imprisoning, then you're going to be able to completely shut down your opponent and basically take the win pretty easy. But again, this one has to be supported by Dragon decks, and only really Dragon decks, or Kokimero decks. Soul Drain is another one of my favorites, because when they go to use the graveyard effect, they're not going to be able to use their graveyard effects, so it's going to shut them down. It's pretty self-explanatory. It is a okay card, because if they're running Lila, then you're going to run into issues by having this on the board. It's also limited, so having it limited also makes issues out of the ass. Now, there's also Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, but also comes down to, are you going against Pure, or are you going against the Lightsworn variant? If you're going against the Lightsworn variant, use the other back row to get rid of the Lila, or use them effect fillers, or break their skills, or whatever negation you can just to stop the Lilas, and then Shadow Imprisoning Mirror is your best option. Now, most of the Lightsworn Shadoll decks will run 2 to 3 Lilas on a given basis. They're not going to run one, so you're going to have to do it multiples. But that's pretty much why you're going to be siding, let's say, 3 Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. Now, if you combine Shadow Imprisoning Mirror with something like Majesty's Fiend or Mispolymerization, you can literally just shit all over your opponent. But I still like the Majesty's or Mispolymerization, because every deck could pretty much special summon, and if you could special summon, you have tribute fodder for him. And if you get him on the board fast enough, you could pretty much win the game. So Shadow Imprisoning Mirror is also a great option, because it not just stops the field, it stops the graveyard too, so they can't use it, and they can't utilize what they need to utilize. This is also a funny side deck card that actually does put in a lot of damn work. It's success probability 0%. You send 2 random fusion monsters from your opponent's extra deck to the graveyard. If they can't fusion against you, and you get all, like right now in this case scenario, you get all the fusions out of the deck. Or you take out the Minrash, the Winda, I believe the TCG name is. You take out the Winda, and then you're not really going to have too much of an issue dealing with them. There is Nepal. Nepal, it can go blow you, because you could just play something like Deep Prison and say, suck a bitch, suck a bitch, suck a bitch. And, it just comes back down to that Shadow Imprisoning Mirror also working really nicely with something like this, because it just permanently takes out the fusions. And that's one big threat out of the way. Banisher of the Radiance, anything that can banish out the graveyard is going to be instant used against these motherfuckers. There's also, I don't know if I have it here. No, I don't. There's also Dimension Ground, which I will mention, which any card that turns sent to the graveyard is a trap card chainable. Any trap card sent, anything sent to the graveyard that turn is banished instead of being, put in the graveyard. So that's also something you might want to keep in mind, hence why it went up $10. You can also use something like End of Anubis that goes nice with the Majesty's Fiend. He completely shuts everything down. Just thoughts that I didn't fully put into the video. But Banisher of the Radiance, any card sent to the graveyard, the only downside is the 1600 attack. It's kind of bad, and they're still going to have the effects, but it goes nice with Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, because then, just saying, if they shut one off, later down the line, they have all this shit banished that they can't utilize at that point in time. So just something to keep in mind, food for thought. Macros Cosmos, also another great card, because anything sent to the graveyard is going to be banished out. Dimensional Fissure, even though they're, you know, limited, they're still great options. They hit Lightsworn, they hit Shadolls, they hit Satellite, they hit Yang Zing, they hit Burning Abyss. So you're not just, when you side these, if you're able to side them, you're not just siding for against the one deck. You have the utilization of basically siding all three of these and going against basically 5 decks that are pretty commonly used right now, or to an extent were or are right now, and it just allows you to do with most of this shit. If you want to get super troll factor, dimension, diffusion, because you just bring back their shit, and then you could chain, say, Vanity's Emptiness, chain diffusion, and then they'll get their monsters back, and then they can't go into a exceed or anything like that. It's just funny as hell. Actually, you know what? Scratch that. That was actually bad, because then I think by that theory, then Vanity's Emptiness would be turned off. So keep in mind, I'm a little half asleep right now because I woke up extremely early. My apologies. But anyway, there is another case for that. You could just use the diffusion to crap out and ram the shit out of them and go for OTK status. That's always a thing that can work. And we have a Dimensional Prison, because Dimensional Prison is like the greatest track card ever, you know, to dealing with Shadolls, because mid-rash attacks, mid-rash window attacks, and these bitches are going to just be banished down and say, you can't see me, you can't come back, you don't get your Shadow Fusion from the graveyard. So if you enjoyed this video or found it helpful and you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe for more, because we upload daily videos, and as you can see, our track record is re-improving because we took some time off, and now it's just about getting back into the swing of things. Finally, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit it with a like button, and let me know in the comments what you want to see next on Guide to Your Side for, I believe it would be October, would be the next one. So, thanks for watching. I'm ready for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Council. I am out of here. Till next time. Peace.